Welcome to Northwest Profiles, a look at people, places, and events of interest in the inland Northwest.
A robot is a machine which performs as programmed.
It sounds like the plot from a science fiction movie, a remote farm that has been invaded by robots. But this is real.
Something is approaching from the southwest. It is now quite close.
Approximately 2,500 robots inhabit this farm near Elk, Washington. Their master is an earthling named John Rigg, and this is his domain, the museum he has built, which he calls the Robot Hut.
A museum is just something I always wanted to put together for myself. I didn't really care if anybody else really ever saw it. But it took about 20 years to save up to get enough money to build it, and then a year of my life to build it once I had the funds. And then I decided I wanted to share it.
The Robot Hut contains John's massive collection of robots and other devices. No two are exactly alike. Why does John find these items so fascinating?
We'll have to re-examine my tapes before I can answer that.
I was wiring 110-volt circuits in first grade, unattended. I mean, power out of the wall, lights, motors, things that could move, commentators. It just made sense to me. It was something I understood. So I don't know that it's so much robots that I love as it is just mechanics and electronics, because I also love old animatronic things back when they would, you had all your mechanical puppets that were done in the 1800s and that sort of things, where you'd wind them up and they'd perform feats. That was the height of the mechanical era. Things were taken to as far as limit as they could go, where they could draw and write and everything else, and there weren't any computers or anything. When I became older, got married and had a child, and I decided I wanted to regain some of those things that I really loved as a kid, I started trying to find them. And it was very tough. I couldn't find anything. I started trying to find the first one I had, which was a TV robot built by Alps in Japan. And I finally did find one of those totally beat up, and I mean, there just wasn't hardly anything of it left. And I got it for $5 at a flea market. So I brought that home and I spent probably 4 or 5 months rebuilding it. When, of course, when I was done, it worked. And I loved it.
John loved it so much that he continued on his quest to find the favorite toys of his youth.
And I finally found shops and dealers that specialized in it, and found out that there was a whole world of collectors out there, and most of the people that were heavy into it were very wealthy, because the nice pieces cost a ton of dough. And I didn't fit that category.
My efforts are not satisfactory, then I suggest you do the job yourself.
So I was kind of still stuck in the world of flea markets, garage sales, and I found a lot of the pieces that I had as a child through those means, and then would rebuild them.
And while John's engineering talent served him well, it also brought him to the dark side of collecting, not knowing when to quit.
By the time I found the top 10 or 12 that I had as a child, I'd also bought at least 600 other robots that I hadn't had, but that I liked. So by the time I got the ones I wanted, I decided there was no reason to stop.
Even though John's collection has reached museum proportions, he does have certain rules about what he collects.
I set up a few rules when I started collecting, which I've adhered to, but I never refuse a gift. If someone gives me a robot, it ends up in here, even if it doesn't fit my criteria. One, it has to do something. So it either has to be, friction-powered, wind-up, or battery-operated. That pretty much covers it. So it has to perform some function. And then secondly, it has to know what it is. What's that mean? That means I don't collect transformers. I don't collect anything that doesn't know what it is. A transformer, am I a car or am I a robot? Am I a plane or they don't really know. So I'm not really interested in them. They're too confused. They don't collect anything that doesn't know what it is. That's the second rule.
Information received, highly suspicious.
I have the least interest in robots that have weapons. Almost all robots have weapons, though. Either a chest that opens up and guns that come out, or guns in their hands, or they shoot rockets out of their heads, or Robot Commando, for example, fires balls out of his arms and stuff like that. Those interest me the least. I have more interest in ones that do passive things, like have colorful gears that are spinning in their chest that you can look at, or have a TV screen and they're showing images that actually move. and whatnot. Those interest me the most. I don't know why, they just do. Of course, the best ones were the ones that you actually can play with rather than turn on. Most robots, which is true with most toys, you simply turn it on and then you're forced to watch the toy perform its function. And I think from a kid's standpoint, that gets boring in a hurry, and that's when the toy gets busted up, and that's probably why a lot of these are collectible, because so many of them would have gotten busted up.
Many busted-up toy robots have been rebuilt and now have a home in John's robot hut. But he hasn't stopped there. Through friends he has made in the movie industry, John has acquired items like this force field generator from the science fiction movie The Forbidden Planet. He also has actual studio blueprints, which he has used to build replicas of robots and set pieces. For instance, he has constructed small-scale and full-scale replicas from the 1960 version of the movie The Time Machine.
The Time Machine is the ultimate machine. All robots are machines, but not all machines are robots. So that had to be here because it is the ultimate machine. I mean, what could be better than a time machine? And as far as robots go, Robbie's the ultimate. What could be better than Robbie?
For your convenience, I am monitored to respond to the name Robbie.
I've made a lot of Robbies by the time I've gotten it right. I have several in Japan at Kitahara's museum, and several floating around the United States in private collections. And they were all earlier ones that led up to what I considered perfection for me. And once I got the one I liked and it was the way I wanted it, I stopped doing it.
Welcome to Al-Care-4, gentlemen. I am to transport you to the residence.
John decided that the next logical step would be to build a working Robbie Jeep, like the one from the movie Forbidden Planet. He built it and then took it on the road. Now it's on display in the robot hut, awaiting its next voyage.
Emergency protective circuit activated.
John has no idea what his collection is worth, and he doesn't care. He welcomes visitors by appointment and at no charge into the robot hut. He asks that children be supervised at all times and says that adults might even consider visiting without their kids. The hands-off displays can be boring to youngsters, and adults like to take their time admiring the toys of their own childhood. And they're likely to find them here in John Rigg's Robot Hut, a personal museum containing 2,500 robots, so far.
Because again, people give you things for birthdays or for Christmas, and you can't really turn them out in the cold because they are robots, so they have to find a home here.
If you have a story idea for Northwest Profiles, send it to KSPS TV, 3911 South Regal, Spokane, Washington, 99223. Northwest Profiles is a presentation of KSPS Public Television.